Green Cooling scores with the 13 Pro-Am Community Rugby League Show.
Well, hello, good evening and welcome. This is, of course, the 13 Pro-Am Community Rugby League Show. We're up to episode 17 now in the season. My name's Dave Parkinson, and it may have been Magic Weekend in Newcastle, but the Premier Division served up its own dose of drama, intensity, and classic Bazzer-worthy moments. Steve Beech is alongside me to go through everything that's happened over the weekend. And, I want to start with the game you was at, Steve. What an awesome game you picked out.
Oh, do you know what,
Thatto against Westall.
Yeah. Good evening to all our listeners first and foremost. Gotta say, if you remember initially, a couple of weeks back, we planned on a couple of games. I went to Jude's and Ince Bridge, which was a really cracking game, and I thought that's going to be hard to top. And we had planned to go and watch Lee Miners against Hunslet, because obviously two teams we've watched a bit down on the haunches at the moment, so it would be interesting to see how they would fare against each other. But just at the last minute, I saw Westall were coming over to play Thatto Heath. We hadn't seen Westall this season. Obviously, we've seen them from finals, etc. In the past. And I thought, let's go over. We know how Thatto Heath had a cracking win against Rochdale Mayfield the week before. And, I thought this would be a real test. What a game. What a game. It was just like It was like the playoffs had arrived already, and you're thinking, if that's the sort of hors d'oeuvre to what's to come, well, yeah, interesting.
Playoffs in May time, eh?
Yeah,
I like it. Right, well, I'll tell you what we'll do, first of all, because Steve's done a tremendous interview with Mike Woods, which we'll bring you in just a little while, but let's have a bit of a match report, shall we? So, it finished Thatto Heath Crusaders 18, West Hull 22. And West Hull remained firmly atop the amateur games top tier league, but they were pushed to the brink by a determined St Helens side, Thatto Heath, chasing a fourth consecutive win. The Green and Golds were staring down only their second defeat of the season as the clock ticked into the final minutes, trailing by 18 points to 16. Thatto had edged ahead and looked poised to cause the upset. Controversy flared late on when what many in the home camp believed to be a forward pass by the visitors went unpunished by referee Oliver Salmon. Moments later, Salmon further angered the Thatto faithful by ruling a knock-on against Crusaders Dave Hull, a decision that sparked a heated debate. Westall had started in dominant fashion, with second row Ben Arben once again outstanding. Leon Stewart crossed inside the opening minute, Townend converted, and Eli Wilkinson added a second try just 6 minutes later. Thatto responded on 15 minutes via Adam Carr, with Ryan Horton adding the extras, but the momentum took a hit just before half-time when Brad Ashus was sin-binned for a high tackle. Despite being a man down, the hosts came out firing after the break. Horton improved his own try just 4 minutes into the second half to put the home side in front, and the game swung further in their favour when West's Jacob Moore was shown the yellow card for a high shot, and during his absence, Jack Jones touched down, with Horton again on target to stretch the lead to 18 points to 10. But West Hull underlined their championship credentials. Wilkinson's second try came almost instantly, Townend again converting to narrow the gap to 2, and set the stage for late drama. There was no disputing the quality of West Hull's decisive moment. A sweeping late attack was rounded off in style by Josh Oliver, whose try reclaimed the lead. Jack Townend coolly slotted over his third goal of the match, sealing a tense victory for the league leaders. Emotions ran high in the aftermath, with Thatto's Brad Pinder shown a red card for allegedly directing foul and abusive language at a touch judge. The final whistle confirmed a nail-biting 22 points to 18 win. It was hard-earned, hotly contested, and just enough to keep the Green and Golds in charge at the summit of the Premier Division. Scorers in that one for Thatto Heath, Carr scoring after 15 minutes, Horton scoring after 44 minutes, and Jones going over just after the hour mark. Horton successful with all his kicks on goal, 3 out of 3. And for West Hull, tries from Stewart, 2 from Wilkinson, 1 from Oliver. Stewart scoring after 1 minute, Wilkinson after 7 and 64 minutes. Oliver just a couple of minutes from time. Townend good enough to slot over 3 of his 4 attempts on goal. What a game!
It was. It was full of everything. I've got to say, I know within that report, there's where the referee gets a little bit of stick, as it were. But to be fair, even the West Hull team, the West Hull, not the players, the fans were getting on the rest back as well. So I always weigh it off. If both sets of fans are criticising the referee, then I think he's probably doing the correct job.
He's got the right call to be honest, hasn't he?
Yeah.
In all honesty, and let's be honest. If ever something goes against you at amateur level, it's always seen as a big controversy, anyway, isn't it? So, and I know that Oliver's one of the up and coming referees as well. To be fair, in the national conference.
I mean, at the end of the day, obviously he had touch judges on this day as well, and they helped us the best they can. The bottom line is, that they can only give what they can see. It's not always the easiest thing. We rely on how many times on Super League and where you've got the video ref to sort of scrutinise everything.
Don't talk to me about video ref decisions. It's getting to the point now where you go into a Super League game and you're thinking, will I actually fit the first half into an hour here?
Well, that's right, isn't it? It's absolutely crazy. But got to say, right from the first minute that when West Hull scored, I thought, is it going to be one of them days? But then they scored again, so it was within sort of 8 minutes to 10 minutes that they were 10 points up in next to no time. Give Thatto the due, they got themselves together and started putting some heavy pressure onto West Hull, and West Hull give them their due. The defence was absolutely superb, and it was really, really tight to be honest. The sin binning in the first half, which was for I'm trying to think what his name was.
Was this Brad Ashurst? Simbin for a high tackle.
Yeah. It was a bit rash, and it was literally one of those where, literally at the beginning of when they turned the ball over, ready for the next set, they'd been attacking, and the call was no penalties because it was getting close to half time, and they were in a good position, and it was literally there was no need for him to go in with a swinging arm. There was already 2 people in. It was one of those where he wasn't going in maliciously. He was just trying to be hard, and it caught and went up. And a bit got sin binned, and give, as I said there in the report, give them the due. They come out in the second half, and despite being that man down, they came firing back, and Oulton scored what was an absolute peach of a try. It was out on the left-hand side, and he picked up a ball up, I think it was from dummy half, and looked as though he was going to put the ball back inside towards the post and spread the play across, but he didn't. He came short side, and literally it was really short, and his winger was there to put the winger in. He was going to go in, no problem. You could read it left, right and centre, and the fullback had read it left, right and centre. He knew that the winger was going to get it, and he had them both lined up, to tell you the truth, but he gave him the best dummy you have ever seen, and just sold it and went in, and then he backed it up. It was worth the entrance fee alone there. Again, in there, we was on about players for West Hull. Ben Harborne, again, absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah, once upon a time a National Conference League Premier Division Player of the Season winner.
That's right, yeah.
Whenever Craig McShane's not managed to get his hands on it over recent years.
Ben Harborne's been the one, but it was very good. And it was the pace of the game was unbelievable. It was really, as I was saying, it was like a playoff match. Dave Pike, who we know, when we were down at Thatto, was on the panel with us when we had the show down there. He was playing in second row, which I thought, that's obviously they've got quite a few injuries at the moment, so he was filling in the absolute wonder move, because obviously he usually plays centre, so he's playing that extra one man in, but he's got that knowledge and know-how to sort of play that same sort of game. He was everywhere.
A quick word as well, to be honest, Steve, on the guy that scored 2 tries for West Hull, Wilkinson. What was he like?
Yeah, I mean, he was.
I nearly did his name there because he's called Eli, isn't he? What was Eli like?
Yeah, he pacey lad, really pacey lad, and there was a couple of other times as well where he possibly could have been in, and I can see him being involved in lots of things during the season, because he is sort of integral in finishing things, but as a whole, the team as a whole with West Hull, I mean, as I say, Arbon was probably the man who stood out, but not sort of magnificently, because it was a team effort, a real good team effort, and they were both well matched. The try, as I say, at the end, it was one of those where coming up to it, they'd been given a knock on, and this was right near us, and I'm just trying to think who it was again, What had happened was that instead of controlling things right at the end when they'd been in front, literally there was only a couple of minutes left, instead of just taking the tackle, coolly playing the ball, it's one of those, want to get up quick, and suddenly the ball's loose, you know what I mean? And straight away what you do these days, you always state that it's been stripped out. From where I was, it didn't look as though it had been stripped out. Consequently, the ball was turned over. Next play, it went over to the far side, and they went in and scored. And West Hull were probably the ones just to pinch it though, because they controlled, the match in the sense of they didn't, even though they were that far behind, they didn't bottle it. They stuck to the guns. I think game management's a bit more for Thatto Heath, and they'd have had it certainly right there at the end. And just keep your cool and play, play the sets. Even if you're going to get up slowly and play the ball, they could have even done that. And it was in their own half. If it had been up in West Hull's half, it might not have been as bad. But it's a learning curve. It's early on in the season, and you've got to say, it was just a really, really good match.
You know what? I'm delighted to hear that. Well, you managed to get some post-match reaction as well, didn't you, Steve? So we'll now hear from Mike Woods having a chat with Steve after the game.
Been joined by head coach from Thatto Heath, who's just got defeated 22 points to 18. Mike, your thoughts on that, mate? I know it's literally straight after the game. What thoughts, mate?
Yeah, just after digesting a little bit. We started poor. Straight off the kick-off, they went 10-0 up, and then I think after that we was in control, went in front half-time, and then we had 3 tries disallowed them. As a coach, it hurt, and I've seen a bit of a video thing there. 2 of them are definitely tries, but that's rugby, and the officials don't always get it right, and that's part of the game, but it just hurts. We're going through a bit of a good run. We've got a lot of injuries and key players, but the team is just fighting for everything, and I'm gutted for the lads, to be honest. Yeah, I'm gutted obviously, but the effort they put into there with the type of lads that are missing, leaders and captains, but they're digging in. It's the same as last week at Rochdale. We just kept going, and it's the first time in a few years we've won there. So this one's hurt though. It's hurt a little bit. I think we should be having 2 points there, and no disrespect to West Hull, I think they were a great team and they do what's right though. They're the basics, they get on with it, but yeah, I think you could probably tell them a bit down at the moment, but
I'm looking at it from my point of view, and I'm looking from being down here last year when we were commentating on one-year games. It's a totally different team. You would have probably lost that game a lot easier last season. But you've been in the mix, and you've got to take a lot from that, I think.
Yeah, we're in a good position considering the last 2 years, but every team goes through a bit of a, if you want to call it a transition. We had a lot of lads who are the late 20s, and they all seem to have babies, and last year, and stag do's and weddings. It hurt us last year, but I mean, when you got Jamie Tracy out for 3 months, and you Josh Cranes and Connor Dwyer, who's not playing, and Kai, the new lad at prop, played 50% today with a tight hamstring, and you've got to put your hands up to the rest of the lads. And we've got a good feel around the club, but we had a really good pre-season, and I've been playing rugby a long time. I spent 26 years at Thatto Heath Open Age, and I would say it was up there as the toughest and hardest pre-season we have, and I think we shown that today, because I think we wasn't on our armchairs, we were still going. Bit of bad game management last set, I think we could have snatched it, but you're playing the top of the league, West Hull, you've got to be 100% all the way through the game. I think we let ourselves down in parts, but yeah.
To be fair, watching that game today, it was like a playoff match. The pace of it was so intense, and it never stopped for 80 minutes.
Yeah, it was. And as a coach, I was looking around all the time for substitutes, not because it was just that fast. And I think it was windy and cold, and then all of a sudden the sun came out.
That's right, yeah.
And I think everyone was got took by it. But yeah, it was a very fast. I mean, that's what the coach said straight away. He said, "Wow, what a game!
Yeah,
anybody could have won that." And anybody could have won it. Yeah, I agree. Obviously, I'm a coach of Thatto Heath. I think we should have won, but that's rugby, innit?
Yeah, and I think at the end of the season, certainly both teams are going to be in that mix for the playoff positions.
Yeah. Well, you've got to be lucky with the injuries, aren't you? I mean, we're going through honest, I'm not just using it as an excuse. Luckily, we've got a big squad this year, but I think it's like 4 or 5 injuries a week. Last week, we've lost 4 from last week, but if we get them back at the right time, well, that's the plan this year. Yeah, the last 2 years have been disappointing as a Thatto Heath person, coach, and the club. We're nowhere near the playoffs. In fact, was at the bottom end near enough. So we survived 2 years of being near the bottom. So this year, playoffs is a minimum. I'll be devastated if we don't get in them playoffs.
Yeah. Got to say, just on a slightly different note, last year we were up on the balcony talking to you about this pitch. It's looking really good now.
Don't. Oh yeah. Listen, if people know me around the club and the grounds, and listen, that pitch puts years on me. I'm here morning, night. The sprinklers on. We've got 27 teams at the club, and you're trying to keep a pitch in tip-top condition. It's very hard, but yeah, the weather's right and it's growing. It is. I'll be honest with you.
It's looking really, really good.
It is a good playing field. It's fast. You don't get games called off, and that's the whole point of it. But yeah, it's a very fast pitch. I think the forwards found that today. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's something the club's proud of, and he's looked after well.
Yeah. Commiserations today, mate. We'll catch up later in the season, and all the best moving forward. And as I say, I'm sure you're going to be in the mix there.
Yeah, thank you. Always a pleasure to have you down. Thank you very much.
Green Cooling keeps the 13 Pro-Am Community Rugby League show cool, even when tackles get heated.
So it was good nick, that pitch.
Do you know what? It looked absolutely spectacular.
Bowling green.
Oh, it was obviously nice and fat. In fact, it was strange, because when they were sort of warming up, they warmed up on the other pitch.
All right, okay. Yeah.
But a couple of the West Hull lads were on at the far end, and the sprinklers were on, watering parts of it. Anyway, as they were passing the ball about, obviously they must be on a timer for every, so it said 10 minutes it was, and the next sprinkler would come up. So rather than having been on all the time, it was done in sequence. Obviously, one of the lads who was the substitute had the big coat on, and he was throwing the ball about, just warming up. Next minute, the sprinkler come on and absolutely drowned him. But not only that, it was just at the time as the rest of the West Hull lads were coming round to go past him. So consequently, he was the butt of all the jokes as they went past. But yeah, it's a great pitch. It was like Mike said, it was ideal for those two teams, and it did test both packs, and they were both there for 80 minutes. And again, as he said, a little bit of management there in that last set, they probably would have won that.
West Hull, coached by Ryan Steen, of course, this season. I get the feeling they're starting to bring it together, aren't they?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, maybe this might be a little bit of an unfair question, but you've seen both West Hull and Siddle over recent weeks. You know, I haven't seen West Hull in the flesh as it is yet this season. What are your thoughts? Are you looking at those two sides as being the guys that you think will get through to the grand final, do you think? From what we've seen so far?
Again, whether they get to the grand final because I think there's a couple of others. Same as Sarah, you're talking Thatto Heath, the shorter players. If you get those players back and they can play as well as that, then they can upset people, which is great to have somebody else in that mix. And I said to Mike, actually, after we'd had that conversation.
But then arguably West Hull will have 2 or 3 players missing, because that's just community sport
Yeah,
as it is,
yeah.
isn't it? You know, so you've not got the same players that are available
That's
to you
right,
week
that's
in,
right.
week out.
But what I was saying to him, I said, do you know what? I said, I don't wish ill on anybody. I said, but Hunslet are going through it at the moment. I said, rebuilding. I said, which to a certain extent nicely opens up that top 6 again. But anybody can beat anybody else. Siddle, you know what, they're still not in the mix like they were last season. But we seen what happened to Siddle. They went to the final and they got turned over. So, you know, is that going to be something on the back?
Do they have the potential this season though, West Hull, to win it with the way that they played? I mean, let's be honest. They've turned a situation where they've been 18-10 down in a big game, and they've turned that into a win. When perhaps 10 minutes from time wouldn't have been expecting.
Yeah, they're playing a team away from home, a team who were on form, and they've stuck. You know, they've to the game plan. They've managed it well. And they've played to the, so at 80th minute, well, it was just over because a little bit of injury time, obviously, in most of the games. I can see them being there. I can see whether it will be, one of the other teams, but I can see they would have to have a big slip up, I think, for not to get there. When Siddle play West Hull, that is going to be an absolutely, that's going to be the next game off the, off the rank, as it were, that's going to be some sort of indicator. It's not the be all and end of all, but I'm sure it's all those where you just want to get that one up, as it were.
Now, Steve, I'm breaking rank again here, because we're going to go to our social media story of the week, and I believe that you've got it this week, haven't you, Steve?
Yeah. It was funny, actually, because it was something Mike said. Brad Pinder got sent off at the end of the game. He's the half-back for Thatto Heath. Having a go at the lines, touch judge, I should say, and rightfully so, got his marching orders. Maybe out for a little while, but fortunately today they've announced the signing of ex-Rochdale Hornets and Wigan Academy halfback. His name is Ryan Forshaw, and so he's apparently been training and just been getting ready to hopefully when he's been able to play rugby again, he's going to be starting for him this week by the looks of things. I
mean, that's a tremendous signing. I mean, anybody that's been on Wigan's books has got to be a good player, haven't they? Because you don't get to that sort of standard without being something a little bit special.
Yeah, and we say it time and time again, it's good having these players, because it's not only from their skill level, but they bring good traits into the club, don't they? In the sense of sort of how they train, setting up moves and different things like that, and just viewing things. And one thing I did like, and there's a couple of teams, in fact, Siddle were very much the same in this, was how the fullbacks controlled the game. I know you see it in the professional game where the fullback will indicate, how many numbers are on one side and another. You don't always see, you don't always hear that being done in the community game. But certainly, I remember when we were out at Siddle and Lot Lane, and then sort of watching the game at the weekend was very much the same as well, where the fullback was sort of making sure that everybody knew where they were. And another thing as well, which I'd never ever heard, the winger for Thatto Heath calling out the tackles.
Oh, they always do that?
Nah.
Yeah.
I always thought it was the referee who did it.
No, the referee does it, but it's the winger's job to keep account of the tackles as well, to let the rest of his teammates know. He let
everybody know. I've never heard it. I was thinking, wow, that ref's throwing his voice. And I noticed it was Keppel Lewis, I think his name is.
Lewis Keppel.
Lewis Keppel, sorry, who was doing it.
He's only a young player as well, isn't he?
He's good. He's going to be good. Yeah, I like him.
So I mean, he does have a little bit of an interesting blot on his copybook, does Ryan Forshaw, in the fact that he was banned from all sports 3 years ago by the UK anti-doping agency after he tested positive for 2 banned substances. So these came, they were use of anabolic agents. So there was 19 norandrosterone and metandinone. I've probably not said them completely wrong, you know.
Oh, there you go.
So, but you know, let's be honest, you know, really talented player. Glad that he's coming back to rugby league, because it would be quite easy having something like that happen to you, where you just say, I can't be bothered with this sport anymore. I hope that he's learned any lessons that he needed to from that period of not being involved in rugby league. I wish him all the best on his comeback. His ban expired 5th of May. So with the 7th of May as we're recording this. He's really good news that he's linking up with Thatto, and I can't think of a better community club this side of the Pennines anyway for him to get to come back with, to be fair. And I'm sure he'll get well looked after there, and you know, well played to Thatto as well for holding out the olive branch and getting a player back involved in the sport.
Yeah, very much so. And
I'm all for redemption as well.
Yeah,
you know, let's be honest, because you know, we do some stupid things when we're younger, and sometimes you hear people going, "Oh, but this is like a drugs offence," and blah blah blah. Listen, you can't always have that against you, you know. And I'm thinking he served his time now.
Just going to say that. Yeah.
Let's see him get back, and I hope that we're going to see this player that was of this immense promise earlier on in his career.
Yeah, I know Mike said he was more than happy. He said the numbers that they've got training this year, you know, has given that chance to, you know, fill in, and you know, the squad doesn't go down, or the team doesn't go down when they've lost a few. Like I said to him, if you'd have come from the other side of the Pennines, or if you'd have come down from Wigan and you didn't know what team was going to be playing here, with regards to what players, you wouldn't have noticed any different because of the effort that they all give.
I like how you pick those two areas out. It's like, you know, normally we'd say if you come down from space, you wouldn't have realised it is, and you pick Yorkshire and Wigan. It's like, whoa, okay.
But I've got to say, Kai Siani,
yes,
was exactly the same as when we were watching him play for Oral St James.
Oh, he's so consistent.
100%.
He's a real consistent player, you know, and you know, he will realise the rest of his potential in the community ranks, I think, playing in that division.
Got to say, the pack as a whole, you know, absolutely spot on both sides. Both packs played really well and set good platforms for your, you know, sort of the backs to, you know, control things, as it were.
Right, Steve, let's go through the rest of our Premier Division wrap-up, shall we? So it was also, you know, lots of other games going on around the Premier Division. Just a couple of others outside of the Premier Division to tell you about. It was one of the bye weeks, this, actually, by the way. By the way,
yeah. I just was looking, I thought, how many matches are on? There wasn't many. But, saying that, two teams, we were talking about West Hull and Thatto butting heads. West Bowling and York Acorn were at it, and it was West Bowling 28, York Acorn 18. West Bowling kept pace with West Hull at the top of the table with a hard-earned comeback victory over York Acorn. The game swung back and forth with Bowling trailing 18-16 in the final quarter, but crucial tries from Danny Halmshaw and Ollie Bartle added to earlier scores from Logan Simpson, Lewis Taylor and Archie Halmshaw. So he saw them on. Harry Williams finished with 4 goals, so the scorers there for West Bowling were Simpson and Taylor, A. Halmshaw and D. Halmshaw and Bartle, and 4 goals from Williams. York Acorn's tries came from Green and Barker and Burns, and 3 goals from Green.
Meanwhile, it was Siddle 36, Rochdale Mayfield 22, and Siddle made it 5 straight wins and stayed firmly in the playoff picture with a strong home performance against the determined Rochdale Mayfield. Christian Ackroyd opened the scoring before Sam Walsh and Conor McCallum helped Siddle to an 18 points to 4 half-time lead. They then extended the gap further through Jamie Greenwood, and this also included a 20-point haul from Lewis Hostin. We haven't talked about him in the same sort of point-scoring format as he was doing last season because he's not been kicking the goals mainly this year.
No.
However, 20 points for him in this game. Lewis Hostin well and truly back. Mayfield did rally late on with 2 tries from Ben Metcalf and 1 from Jack McConaughey, but Siddle were well clear by then. So it finished 36 points to 22 in favour of Siddle, and the tries for Siddle scored by Ackroyd, Walsh, McCallum, Greenwood, 2 from Hostin, 6 goals from the boot of Hostin as well. Meanwhile, for Rochdale Mayfield, the brilliantly named Tyrone Chip Chase got in with a try. 2 tries from Metcalf, 1 from McConaughey, 3 goals from the boot of Cole Connolly, but it wasn't to be on the day. And Siddle march on.
Then we saw 2 of the promoted teams, bus heads over in Oulton. Waterhead Warriors up against the Dewsbury Maroons. The Maroons looking for the first victory of the season and still can't find it, unfortunately. It was Waterhead Warriors 44, Dewsbury Maroons 18. Waterhead continued their impressive form with a convincing home win over the bottom club Dewsbury Moor. The Warriors raced to a 28 points to 0 lead before Dewsbury responded through Felix Ellis and Harry Hartley. Adam Robinson and James Perks added further tries for Waterhead, and although Aaron James pulled 1 back for the visitors, Matthew Wallen's late effort sealed a comfortable win. Scorers for Waterhead were 2 tries for Dodd, 2 for Hamilton, 2 for Robinson, 1 for Perks and 1 for Holland, with 6 goals from the foot of Brennan. Dewsbury Moor, their tries came from Ellis, Hartley and James, and Colbridge was on hand with 3 goals.
Another absolutely brilliant game taking place at Loch Lane. Loch Lane 18, Wathborough Hornets 18. And it was Loch Lane that fought back from a 12-point deficit to earn a draw against Wathborough in a tightly contested match in Castleford. The Hornets looked in control with tries from Josh McConnell, who scored 2, and Jack Megan, plus 3 goals from the boot of Greg Rooney. But Morgan McCourt Simbin opened the door for Lane, who responded through Danny Maskell and Kieran Purdy. Morgan Jones held his nerve to land 2 late conversions and seal a draw. So overall in this game, Loch Lane scoring tries through Davis, Maskell and Purdy, with goals split between Fozzard with 1, 2 from Jones, and for Wathborough Hornets, 2 tries from McConnell, 1 from Megan, 3 goals from the boot of Rooney. As we mentioned, that Simbin from McCourt perhaps costing Wathborough dear in the end. But they still managed to come out to that with a draw.
Yeah.
And, thankfully none of this golden point nonsense in the community game. I can say that, can't I?
Well, you can. Well, the game that I was originally down to watch, Lee Miners Rangers against Hunslet ARLFC. As I said, these are 2 teams who were at the wrong end of the table at the moment. And reigning champions Hunslet ended their 5-match losing streak with a vital away win in a relegation scrap at Lee Miners. The South Leeds outfit were never behind, taking an early 8 points to 0 lead through Will Cohen and George Rayner. Lee responded through Tom Burnett and Andy Fulman brace, with Johnny Yowds converting all 3. But Hunslet had the final say with Ryan Morley's late try and 2 more for Josh McClellan's goal sealing the win. Lee Miners Rangers tries, Burnett and 2 for Philbin, with 3 goals from Yowd. And Hunslet, their tries came from Cohen, Rayner, Whitford, McClelland and Morley, with goals 4 from McClelland.
I've seen that video as well with Rayner scoring the try. That was a peach of a score, by the way. Yeah. So Lee Miners kicked the ball long from the halfway line. It was taken in by the Hunslet fullback, who kind of drifted across, passed to his winger. Winger makes the break, scampers up field. Fullback is coming across, ball in field, Rayner's away under the post. Great score.
It's going to be interesting to see what that win does for Hunslet, if it manages to spark them into some moving up that table.
Stranger things have happened, haven't they? You know, and sometimes it can just take a little spark, a little flame from somewhere, and away you go. And we could easily be talking about them having 4 wins to the name in the next 4 matches, couldn't we? That's the sort of side that Hunslet can still be.
Yeah.
I know we've talked about them very much in a transitional period and having lost a lot of players both to retirement and going into the professional ranks. But they've still got some good players there. They still have some great players that are playing, you know, and I'm sure lads like Ben Shulver, who I was on tour with, and Jake Dearden, they won't. This will be hurting them with Hunslet in this position at the moment, and they'll be doing everything that they can to drag them away from that position. However, the longer that it goes into the season, the more and more we are starting to talk about it being a potential relegation scrap. And if someone had said to me Lee Miners and Hunslet would be a relegation scrap at the start of the season, I would have been saying, you what?
Yeah, you're out of your mind.
You're out of your mind, exactly. Moving on to Division 1, and there is a side that is really one of those guys that is scrapping for survival at the bottom of Division 1, and that's Oulton Raiders. Now, they hosted Wigan St Pat's, and it was St Pat's who just edged Oulton Raiders, winning by 14 points to 10. And St Pat's climbed to 3rd in the process in the Division 1 table after holding off a late fight back from winless Oulton Raiders in a gritty contest. The visitors had led 12 points to 0 at the break, thanks to unconverted tries by Lance Wright, Matty Rudd and Isaac Wheatley. The latter scored when Pats were down to 12 men following Dean Zammett's sin binning for a high tackle. Oulton responded after the restart though, when Joe Horan broke through and scored before a crucial penalty from Brad Smith gave the Saints some breathing space. I've never seen Wigan St Pat's referred to as the Saints. I don't think I should be doing that, really. I could be getting hate mail.
No, it's like Oldham St Anne's are called the Saints as well, aren't they?
Yeah. So, no, I'm going to say St Pat's. Yeah. Sorry, guys. St Pat's. So, a penalty from Brad Smith had given St Pat's some breathing space. Lewis Hagan's late try, converted by Josh Perkins, gave Oulton hope, but Pats saw the game out to claim their 5th win of the season. Scorers for Oulton Raiders, the tries from Horan and Hagan, 1 goal from the boot of Perkins. Meanwhile, for Wigan St Pat's, tries from Wright, Rudd and Wheatley, and just the 1 goal, that penalty from Smith. Zammit also spending time in the bin for that high tackle.
Moving on to Division 2, there was a big derby match which had been rescheduled for this past weekend, and it was between Dewsbury Celtic and Thornhill Trojans. And Dewsbury Celtic dominated neighbours Thornhill Trojans in this rescheduled derby to move up to 2nd place in Division 2. Despite both sides having player availability issues, Celtic ran in 9 tries without reply. Jordan Hurst led the way with a personal haul of 22 points from a try and 8 goals, while Alec Whiteman, Lewis Teal, Billy Yarrow, Josh Frayne, Jude Judge Clark and Casey Canterbury also crossed the whitewash. Thornhill's discipline faltered with Jermaine Akader simbin for a shoulder charge and Sam Ratcliffe shown a red card after allegedly refusing to leave the field following his own sin-binning.
Wow, that sounds like an interesting incident.
So scorers for Dewsbury Celtic tries came from Hurst, Whiteman, Teal, Yarrow, Frayne, Judge Clark and Canterbury, with Hurst kicking 8 out of 9 goals, and Thornhill Trojans obviously not getting on the score sheet. So the sin binning for Akader for a shoulder charge, and then red card for Ratcliffe for dissent after a sin bin.
I'm going to add another name to our list of names
our
to
team,
look out for, you know, like, because we've got McClintock in there, haven't we?
We have, yeah.
We've got Chip Chase in there.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm adding Judge Clark into there as well. Drew Judge Clark. I don't know how often he plays for Dewsbury Celtic, but I think that's a brilliant name, that. I don't feel like we've been talking enough about Dewsbury Celtic, by the way. They have been going about their business really, really quietly in Division 2 of the National Conference League. I believe they've got the best defensive record in the competition. Yeah, so talk amongst yourselves while I just bring up the table, because, I was I thought this was tremendous when I was looking at it before. I should have actually made a note of it before actually talking about it. However, Dewsbury Celtic have played 7 games, right?
Yep.
They've only conceded 32 points.
Really?
I mean, that's phenomenal, isn't it? So it means that whilst we've been talking, and rightly so, about East Leeds in racking up the amount of points that they have done, 370 by the way, Dewsbury Celtic have scored 240 and only conceded 32. I mean, that is tremendous. How good is that defence from Dewsbury Celtic?
Well, I'm just looking now. They have had, if I'm not wrong...
I think they've had about 3-0s in that, haven't they?
The Dridlington they nilled, Skirler they nilled, and Ellenborough they nilled, and
now Thornhill
they've nilled.
I mean, that's going some, isn't it?
It certainly is.
We always say, like if you can, maybe keep aside to an average of less than 10, 12 points over the course of a season, you're going to be there or thereabouts for honours, aren't you? Dewsbury Celtic are bang in form at this moment in time, aren't they?
Yeah.
Really, really good for them.
Piltrex, the only one at the moment they turned them over at home 14-10, that was back in 22nd of March.
Yeah, so the only time they've conceded more than 12 points, they've lost, haven't they, in that case? So, having a great season, Dewsbury Celtic. I just thought that, they're a side that we haven't really... talked a lot about at that level, and they deserve their own little bit of the limelight, don't they? I mean, we have been mentioning over the course of these roundups, by the way, the likes of Jordan Hurst. He's been regularly in there, hasn't it? So it doesn't surprise me that he's there amongst the points. Billy Yarrow is another player that we've mentioned a lot. Hooker, of course, with a bit of professional experience, used to play at Oulton, by the way. Josh Frayne and Casey Canterbury have also been thereabouts in the professional ranks as well, in League One in particular, over the last few years. So again, they've got some decent players down there at the moment at Dewsbury Celtic, and it's looking increasingly like it's being a good season for them. Yeah,
and that division as well, we've got 3 teams there who can't score points. You've got East Leeds at the top, Dewsbury Celtic there second, and Clockface Miners in on third. That's 3 teams who have really been setting the pace. But as you say, Dewsbury Celtic a little bit under the radar.
Yeah,
and they're in there. So again, I suppose the game between East Leeds and Dewsbury Celtic are going to be a good watch, isn't it?
Yeah, we're definitely going to be looking out for. I'm going to be looking out for the team sheet of that and seeing, how many points are conceded in it. Let's have a look at that, shall we? Right, let's move on to the fixtures. So everybody's back in action this coming week, and it all gets underway on Thursday evening. So if you're listening to this as soon as it goes live, then you've still got a day to prepare for it. If you're listening to it on the day and it's Thursday, well, get yourself over to Loch Lane tonight. And I tell you what, that's where I'll be heading as well. There's an interesting little story from Loch Lane, which I said that I'd give a mention, but I'll try and speak to him for next week's show. Yeah. So it's a lad called Lucas Moon. He's only 23. Yeah. But he's in line to make his 100th National Conference League appearance for Loch Lane, which is a tremendous record at that young age, isn't it? So I'm looking forward to... I'm putting you on notice, Lucas.
I was just going to say, I hope you've not put the mockers on the lad.
I'll be coming finding you for a chat. I'm hoping to get across to that game tomorrow between Loch Lane and York Acorn. So looking forward to finding a little bit more about that. And also as well, it's been a few weeks since I spoke to... Paul Couch. So I know he was saying that he was looking forward to the latest run of games, so this brings an end to that latest run, if you like. So it will be interesting to see just what's going to be happening there. Up against that York Acorn side, of course, that's in and around that same sort of playoff picture at the moment, aren't they? Should be a crackerjack of a game, that, by the way. So Loch Lane currently 5th. York Acorn 7th. Interestingly enough, Loch Lane have 9 league points. York Acorn have 8. So there's only...
That's lining up for a good game, then, isn't it?
Thatto Heath of the Sandwich in 6th, by the way. So that's what that's looking like at this moment in time. Then the action switches across to... That's in the Premier Division, of course. Then the action switches across to Friday evening. Division 2 action coming your way. Driglington up against Hull Dockers. And it would be fair to say Hull Dockers are having... a bit of a bad time of it lately. Now, it's not like they've not been scoring points. They've scored 130 points in 7 games. So you're thinking, well, that puts them perhaps mid-table for the amount of points that they're scoring. It's defensively. They've got the worst defence in the league. They've conceded 294 points. And, along with Skirler, have been struggling to name regular 17 players in the team. So they're going through the horrors at the moment. Driglington themselves, they've had a mixed bag of a start. In their 7 games, they've won 3 and lost 4. I can't see past the Driglington win, though, in that one for me, Steve. I just think that they're going to be too strong. And again, they can be pretty potent on the day. The wins that Driglington have been high scoring and they've been close.
Yeah.
The losses that they've had have also been by wide margins. So, this is one of those games that, I'm interested to get the team sheet for, to have a look at how they went on. Moving on to Saturday, the Premier Division fixtures see Dewsbury Moor Maroons host Wathbrow Hornets. Hunslet are at home to Waterhead Warriors.
That'll be a good game, because I was just going to say Waterhead Warriors currently sitting 4th in the Premier. They've won 5, lost 3, 10 points, and having a really good start of things in the Prem.
Rochdale Mayfield, who find themselves down in 9th. I was quite surprised when I was looking, at this league table, to be honest. They're only 2 points now ahead of Hunslet, who are in 10th in the relegation zone. So they've scored 198 points, Rochdale Mayfield. They've also conceded 198 points. So there's something a bit yin and yang about their season so far, isn't there? I wonder whether they can break the mould. They're hosting Lee Miners Rangers. Meanwhile, this one looks like an outstanding one. Do you fancy a ride out at the weekend, Steve?
I would do, but unfortunately I might be going somewhere else.
That's fair enough. West Bowling, they're hosting Thatto Heath Crusaders. That could be a really, really good game. One I'm, again, looking forward to reading all about and bringing you the news next week. And you mentioned it, West Hull and Siddle.
Yeah.
They're up against each other this week. Oh, that's got grand final dress rehearsal written all over it for me.
Another one. I'll tell you, both 2 sides there that... when I saw them against Thatto Heath at the weekend, they were really, really on the ball. But we'll see how they go up against Siddle.
Kells, in Division 1, of course, Kells starting to pick up a couple of wins of their own now. They're away at Crossfields. Then Egremont Rangers, they're at home to Oulton Raiders. I wonder whether Oulton Raiders will fancy the chances going up to Egremont too. Again, it took a little bit of time to settle back into Division 1, but seem to be now picking up a couple of victories. Oldham St Anne's hosting Rosebridge. That's got to be a standout fixture, that.
I think it will be, yeah. I've got a feeling though, in Rosebridge, they get things settled down, that I think they'll probably win that one. But when you come up, Oldham and Wigan teams come up against each other, it's not always the plainest of sailings, is it?
It definitely isn't, no. Stanley, meanwhile, they're on the edge of the playoff picture in Division 1. They're hosting Wigan St Pat's. I've got a feeling, I think home advantage might count there.
It's interesting, that one, yeah.
And I'm going to say the same here as well. Wigan St Jude's and Shawcross Sharks, they've had a couple of classic battles over the last couple of years, haven't they? In Division 2, both sides were promoted at the end of last season. Both sides doing particularly well. Shawcross Sharks find themselves in 5th spot. Wigan St Jude's find themselves in 4th in the competition, and that should be a cracking game over at Parsons Meadow as well.
And only 1 point actually separates them.
And that is going to be really, really competitive. Woolston Rovers, they've only managed the 1 victory so far. They're at home against Heworth, and this is a Heworth side that is starting to pick up the wins. Yeah. They're on a flyer, aren't they, at the moment? They're again in a similar sort of vein to Dewsbury Celtic. They're doing really well in the division, and not many people are talking about them at the moment.
Yeah, we said that last week, didn't we? We sort of spoke about, obviously they're a side who have come down and have started, to sort of show the pedigree in that sort of sense. It's so easy for it to go the other way, as we've seen with other teams in the past few seasons, but they've got themselves together, and they're certainly going again under that radar. They're in second place at the moment. They're up there against Woolston Rovers. Woolston Rovers, like Crossfield, really struggling this year. So that will be interesting. But I've got a feeling Newarth might just do the business there.
Into Division 2, Clockface Miners, they're at home against Normanton. That should be a cracking game, that should. Both of those clubs doing pretty well. In fact, it's third against fourth, isn't it?
Yep, and one on 12 points, one on 10 points. So, things could certainly, one could get away from the other, or the other one could just pull it back and drag them back into the fight, as it were.
And we've talked about Dewsbury Celtic's defence. Well, it's up against this attack of East Leeds at the weekend. So East Leeds home advantage against Dewsbury Celtic on Saturday. That could be a cracking game as well, couldn't it?
That's a top four clash there, isn't it? Of this weekend.
Hensingham, meanwhile, they're at home to struggling Skirler. So I think they'll be looking for their fourth win of the season, Hensingham. And again, doing a good job to consolidate themselves in this league at the moment, Hensingham, getting league points on the board early. Meanwhile, this is a game that I'll be at as well. Can I say, for BBC Radio Cumbria?
Oh, yeah. He's been away at Magic Weekend, I tell you. He's been slumming it with them guys up there, and comes back and works with BBC Radio Cumbria.
BBC Radio Cumbria, yeah. It's the start of their National Conference League coverage. So over the next few weeks, they are going to be, bringing a commentary a week and having people based on other games as well. Yeah, doing updates into, the sports show that they've got running up there on a Saturday afternoon. I'm delighted to get the chance to kick it all off. Not too far away from where we're recording this, over at Pilkington Rex, and Ellenborough Rangers are going to be the team that will come into that now. Yeah, Ellenborough only one win from the first 7 fixtures. They've actually got the worst attack in the league, and I'm wondering whether they'll be on the quest. Well, no doubt they will be on the quest to try and turn over Pilks, who are currently sitting on the edge of the playoff picture with 4 wins from their 7 games so far.
They're getting the things a bit more back together now, aren't they, after the last couple of seasons? And so they're in the fight, as it were, and looking pretty good. I don't think we've covered Ellenborough Rangers before, have we?
No, we haven't as a show. However,
that's what I mean. Yeah.
I know that I have been to games involving them, that when they were playing over at Lee East a couple of years ago. That was a tremendous fixture, to be honest, there on that particular day. So looking forward to that one, and bringing the coverage of Pilkington Rex against Ellenborough Rangers. So that'll be live on BBC Cumbria Sport at the weekend. Meanwhile, the only other game that we haven't talked about yet in Division 2 is Thornhill Trojans. They're at home to Barrow Island, and again, Thornhill down in 9th, Barrow Island in 5th, and there's quite a few points separating these two sides as it stands at the moment. But as we know, with Division 1 and Division 2, a couple of wins either way and you're flying, or you're down near the bottom, aren't you? So there's a real chance there for, if Barrow Island can get their act together over there at Thornhill, of putting some big distance between them and Thornhill, with, say, like a third of the season gone.
Yeah, I totally agree there. I mean, obviously Thornhill were on the wrong end of things last week.
Yes, they was. Yeah. So, but they'll be keen to sort of get back out there, I'd imagine. Into Division 3 of the National Conference League, and Bentley, who are sitting in 3rd, by the way, they're going about their business really, really quietly. They host Millom at the weekend, so I think Millom getting the award for furthest distance travelled on Saturday, by the way, as part of this. Saddleworth Rangers, they're currently top of the league, by virtue of a point difference of 15 over Keighley Albion. They travel up to Dissington, who have had a mixed start to the season, but I'm sure will be there or thereabouts come the end. Featherstone Lions, they're at home to struggling Beverley, who find themselves bottom of the National Conference League and currently in that that slot where they'd have to seek re-election come the end of the season. And meanwhile, Keighley Albion, we spoke about them a lot on the show, they're hosting a Milford side that finally got their league campaign underway on their last occasion when they won 34-0 in Milford in the last game. So that could be a quiet test, that, for Keighley Albion. They're going to have to be on the mettle. And Lee East, they travel over to Myton Warriors. And although Myton have slipped towards the bottom end of the competition, I still quite fancy them, because they have been playing in that higher level, haven't they, for a number of seasons. So I think that home advantage will do them good there. And if Lee East can come up with a victory there, then they can start, dreaming of playoff rugby perhaps. I know that sounds perhaps a little bit dramatic because we're looking, but at that stage, we'll again be a third of the way into the season. And things are starting. They're starting to take shape, aren't they? When we're looking at these league tables, and we've done a little bit of a roundup of that within the fixture list itself, haven't we, Steve? So some cracking looking games coming up.
Yeah, certainly is. I've got to say that Lee East. I mean, if that was the other way around, that fixture the other way around, I would think it would be a banker for Lee East. But I think they're just going away. I have a bit of a stutter when that happens, I must admit. The other one, when we went up to Bentley, were Bentley playing Millham at the time?
No, they were playing Hensingham.
Hensingham, that was it.
But another Cumbrian side.
Yeah.
Give you points for that one.
Oh, no.
But again, we'll perhaps look at Bentley a little bit more in the next few weeks because, as I say, they're flying under the radar a little bit at that level. But it again looks like an intriguing weekend in front of us, Steve.
It certainly does, mate. I mean, it's glad to see that the fixtures are filling up again, and there's plenty for us to go at next week. And don't forget, if you enjoy the show, you can get our show on numerous platforms. We've got Spotify, we've got Amazon, we've got iTunes, obviously we've got Mixler that it goes out on. There's lots of other platforms as well that you can get all.
We're all over the internet.
We certainly are.
We're not quite taking over yet, but we're all over the internet. I hope that you've enjoyed the show tonight. Steve, thank you as ever. It's been a real pleasure being alongside you. Thank you as well to Mike Woods for giving his time at the end of what was a thrilling game.
It was really good. And all I can say, if certainly from a Prem point of view, but from any division point of view, if the games can be as good as that, it's going to be a really good season.
That's a Bazzer.
Every tackle, every try, every scrum. Green Cooling is proud to be part of the Community Rugby League family.